Brandon Hagel has his Tampa Bay Lightning tied at 2s with the Montreal Canadiens, but is he the most underrated fantasy piece in the game? We'll talk all about it on today's show.
You're Locked On Fantasy Hockey, your daily podcast on fantasy hockey.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Fantasy fanatics with their finger on the pulse, welcome back inside the lab. It's the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast with Steele and Flip, with the off-season playoff coverage continuing with so much on today's show to get to, wrapping it with big-time bets as always. We're talking about the Colorado Avalanche taking a 4-game sweep to the LA Kings. We're talking about the Anaheim Ducks pushing the Oilers to the brink, Mr. Rodin. But the Tampa Bay Lightning and Montreal Canadiens are going toe-to-toe, tied at 2s. A couple of angles to discuss, but right off the top, Steele, Brandon Hagel, beast mode. What does it mean for his fantasy value next season?
I absolutely adore this player in fantasy hockey. I think he's one of the most underrated pieces there, and we talked about him when we broke down NHL.com's top 200 fantasy players. He was in the top 30, or maybe just on the outside, but he should be 30th. Top 30. So he was top 30, and he should be. He's such a dynamic player. He does everything the right way, and I believe he actually didn't have a lot going for him this season on the power play, even though he is a juggernaut on the man advantage. He does a lot of the work 5-on-5, and again, he's one of those utility Swiss Army guys that we talk about who can do everything in the game. The Joel Eriksson X, the Vincent Trocheck's, the Zach Hymans of the game, and he is in that category as well. And just in the regular season, what he was able to accomplish, again, another fantastic year, 36 goals, 74 points, and right now leading or tied with Jake Guentzel for team lead with points in this series against Montreal. Both him and Jake Guentzel have 7 points. He's leading the team with 6 goals, 2 on the power play. He's just a dynamic player for the game. And when you look at this series right now, and I mentioned that it's by far my top series to watch right now with everything that's going on. By the way, that Crozier hit on Slavkovsky was a game changer for Tampa Bay, and John Cooper attested to that and gave him a shout out for him potentially even changing the series if they end up winning this one. Brandon Hagel, for me, has been the best player for the Tampa Bay Lightning. I know Jake Guentzel's also up there right now. He's got a lot of secondary and primary assists, but Brandon Hagel is doing it all offensively right now, and he's doing it 5-on-5.
This is a player that if he is around much past the middle to late second round next draft, even without a good postseason that he's already turned in, Steele, 74 points in 71 games this past year. Previous season, 90 points in 82 games. How about also identical 58 penalty minute seasons in both of those years? Getting a little peripheral love as well. They were down this year compared to his 60 hits, 60 blocks that he's kind of been putting up. But I'm okay with that if he's then bringing more than a point per game. Because when I look at the track of his career, comes in with Chicago as, by the way, Steele, a 6th round, 159th overall draft pick. Oh, my goodness me. Talk about value. Then you look at 52 games, he pops 24 points. The next season, 25 games as a 23-year-old, and you think, okay, we're starting to pay attention. Then Tampa swoops in and takes him. This is a John Cooper move written all over it. Two-way forward, versatile, can do a little bit of everything. High motor, high IQ. That's a John Cooper special. And when I take a look at where this series is trending, this player is going to be heard from once again, and he has already have his fingerprints all over it. Before I turn it back over to you, I think another prototypical John Cooper special deserves a lot of credit for the other angle I wanted to talk about, and that's that Cole Caulfield Suzuki line kind of running dry on 5-on-5. Cole Caulfield, I believe, only 1 goal, and why? Anthony Cirelli, shutdown defensive special, deserves a lot of credit.
Yeah, you kind of look at the difference between Tampa Bay and Montreal. Montreal has had a lot of success on the power play. They are the 4th best team in the postseason right now with a 26.5% on the man advantage right now. They're 5 for 19. 3 of those came in game 1 with all 3 of Slavkovsky's goals being on the power play. You look at Nick Suzuki, he's got 4 points, all on the he's got 4 points, all on the power play. Cole Caulfield, 4 points, all on the power play. Uri Slavkovsky, 3 goals, 3 points, all on the power play. So the man advantage is cooking right now for Montreal, but the top line of Montreal compared to Tampa Bay, it's not easily compared to because of the differences that they're doing right now. So you look at those top 3 players for Montreal, like we just said, Cole Caulfield, -5, Suzuki, -4, Hudson, -3, Slavkovsky, -4, compared to the top guys in Tampa. Jake Gensel, +2, Hagel, +6, Kucherov, +3, Cirelli, +6. So 5-on-5, it's going to the Tampa Bay Lightning right now. If they can stay out of the box and if they can stay disciplined, this series is theirs because all those unnecessary penalties that they've taken so far, they've got burned by them. So that they can stay out of the box, stay disciplined against this Montreal Canadiens team, they can take this series, and I do have them in 7 games.
Let's be clear as well. Couple of bounces, couple of posts, maybe a call the other way. This series could be looking very different. It's been very close. And I'm not saying really one team or the other just per se deserves it, because I also look at, some of those plus minus numbers aren't so pretty for that Montreal blue line. Or when I take a look at Jacob Dobish's numbers in the postseason, not really jumping off the page, but the blue line deserves credit for insulating this young goaltender. Only 17 shots against in game 3, 20 shots against in game 4, and aside from 34 in game 2, they have really done a good job, I would say, of giving Jacob Dobish, a young goaltender with no playoff experience, I believe, headed into this season, 3 games before. This is what you need to see from a young blue line. So, some things to tighten up. But, man, do the Montreal Canadiens deserve a lot of credit. But I needed to throw some at Anthony Cirelli. I needed to throw some at Brandon Hagel. Definitely headed into next season.
Absolutely.
Brandon Hagel is a player that has got a ton of credit in regular fantasy circles. But in perhaps less dedicated leagues, because you and I say this a lot, we're for everybody. Brandon Hagel, next year, he's going to be a stud. Steele, I don't know if you got any more to say about this series. I'm ready to go to the Avs in Colorado or Colorado sweep.
Just looking at these, so we'll talk about Colorado and LA when we come back after the break, just to wrap up with this series. And again, talking about fantasy hockey value, it's like both these clubs here, you have potentially 7-8 guys that could be taken in the first 3 rounds of next year's fantasy draft. Like you look at Brandon Hagel, it was obviously Nikita Kucherov's a first round pick. You get into Brandon Hagel, you get into Jake Gensel. And then obviously, depending on whether you use the 0G strategy or you take a goalie early, Vasilevsky could be taken in the first 3 rounds as well. You go to Montreal side of things, Cole Caulfield's for sure in the top 3 round. So is Nick Suzuki after a 100-point season. Lane Hudson's creeping his way up there. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets taken in the first 3 rounds. And then you look at and potentially Slavkovsky as well, especially for a banger league categorical format. Slavkovsky brings all of those elements that you want on your fantasy hockey team. Being on the top line, getting power play time, the physicality that he brings. So these 2 clubs have potentially 8 players going in between the first and third round of next year's fantasy draft. So you want to jump all over them, and that dwindles down in the draft on the draft board when you get into some of those depth pieces as well. We haven't even mentioned Braden Point potentially having a bounce back season. You get into some of those other guys on the back, Noah Dobson, who's not even playing right now for the Montreal Canadiens. Obviously, he's not going to be a top 3 pick, but again, one of those depth guys on the blue line that's going to bring a lot of value for next year with Montreal.
Fantasy hockey gold mines on both sides of the puck. 2-2 headed into Tuesday night. We have big time bets coming up at the end of the episode. We also got to talk about this sweep from the Colorado Avalanche and wrap up the show by touching on the Edmonton Oilers on the brink. Mr. Rodin, it's about to get spicy up in here. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at Indeed. Workplace chaos, deadlines stacking up, inboxes overflowing. That one position you have to fill is still sitting open. When the pressure's on and you need the right hire, it's a job for Indeed-sponsored jobs. Indeed-sponsored jobs help you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for. Skills, experience, location. You're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. Here's a stat for you that says it all in the last minute. We've been chatting. Companies like yours have made 26 57 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. Spend less time searching, more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Less stress, less time, more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast for a $75 sponsored job credit right now and support our show by saying you heard about it on the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire. This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs.
And once again, thank you so much for making Locked On Fantasy Hockey your first listen every single day. Make sure you go check out the Everydayer Club here on Locked On Podcast Network. It's all for just $5 a month or $50 a year. You get ad-free episodes of the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast. Plus, you get access to the Discord group chat with Flip and I and all other fantasy hockey GMs out there who have joined too. Great place to meet new people in the fantasy hockey community. And we throw our bets in there. It's a lot of banter. We love the interaction with everyone who joins. So go check it out. Again, you can learn more in the description below or go check out on Locked On Podcast Network. Flip. Obviously, this is what we expected from the Colorado Avalanche. I can't remember if you had them in 4 or 5. Like, I had the Avalanche doing
5.
A sweep.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. So we both had the. I don't know anyone who picked the LA Kings winning this series personally. I know there's obviously a few brackets out there, but this was too much of a task for the LA Kings to come over. And obviously, the Colorado Avalanche, the best team in the National Hockey League this year. They have some of the best players on their team. They probably have the best goaltender right now in the postseason. Wedgwood's looked fantastic.
Yep.
I do want to talk about Anze Kopitar because it's a bittersweet farewell to him, the way going out in the sweep and, being on the ice for the last minute and a half. But when you look at the Colorado Avalanche side of things, and I want to specifically talk about Lehkonen because he was an absolute dog for the Avalanche in this series, working the penalty kill, getting there, getting on the power play as well, stepping up in some big moments, shutting down top guys on the other opposition and Artemi Panarin and Adrian Kempe every single time he's on the ice. I mean, Jared Bednar, trust this guy more than a lot of coaches out there would in some of these high danger fashions out there. So I look at Arturi Lehkonen, who had 4 points in the 4 games, 2 goals, 2 assists. He was a +5, a shorthanded goal, a game-winning goal, 9 shots on net, 11 hits. He's just a dog. He's a workhorse. And he was the X factor for the Colorado Avalanche in that series.
Absolutely, Steele. And honestly, I think there's a lot more positive takeaways to go for the Colorado Avalanche. They're the team that won the series. But I think more importantly, this is a situation where we expected this to happen. Where do the LA Kings go from here? Because not only do they go out and they add a big player at the deadline in Artemi Panarin, and they have a very thin prospect pool. Just a quick look at a few rankings. They are basically at the bottom or very near the bottom in terms of where a lot of outlets are, ranking their prospect pool. Yeah. So I don't know where they go because goaltending, very ho-hum. Thankfully, they do have a lot of good prospects in that area. The blue line, it's okay. It's average. There's a couple of steady stream options. We've spoken about some pieces. Nothing really sexy. In the forward group, sure. The most to like. The top 6, we do like our Kempes, our Fialas when healthy. Fantasy options there. But realistically, I don't know how I feel headed into next season, Steele. This might be one of those teams. You just mentioned a couple of gold mines, fantasy gold mines in Montreal and Tampa Bay. The LA Kings might slide into the old graveyard situation unless we see perhaps maybe some spicy moves from the front office this offseason, which I don't really see personally.
I don't see it either, but I think a lot of changes have to happen for this organization. And outside of Adrian Kempe and Artemi Panarin, who should still be going somewhere in the 4th, 5th, or 6th round, depending on how you view them in your fantasy league and what the fantasy format is and the fantasy points. This team needs a lot of changes because when you look at the back end, again, it was just too tall of a task for them to overcome trying to even push this to 5 games or even 6 games. And I know the first 3 were very close, a 2-1, 3-2, a 4-2, and then game 4 was kind of a blowout with a 5-1 performance here. But on the blue line, I mean, they're just old and slow. There's no other way to kind of look at this organization right now. Drew Doughty did nothing for the LA Kings this series. 36 years old, -3, only 5 hits. Only 1 shot on net. Cody Ceci, 32 years old. He's slow. He's not great at passing the puck. Brian Dumoulin as well, 34 years old on the back end. Joel Edmondson, 32 years old. He had 1 goal, but not a lot to show for it as well. So when I look at this team, I do agree with you. I think this organization falls into the fantasy graveyard of what you can expect fantasy-wise. You also might want to take the angle of some of those younger guys really taking up the opportunity now with Anze Kopitar retiring and what that means for their ice time and what that means for their opportunity and, again, their ability to perform next season. So I think a lot of changes have to happen with this LA Kings team if they want to be true contenders moving forward, because you do have some really good pieces, but that means guys like Alex Lafreniere, who's 24 years old, guys like Quinton Byfield, who's 23 years old, guys like Brant Clark, who's 22 years old, they all have to take 2 steps, 3 steps, maybe even 4 steps above what we saw this season going into next. It's a lot of steps, but hey, if you want to be paid the big bucks and you want to be some of the top guys in the organization and be the face of your club, you have to take the reins at some point. And they've needed that from Quinton Byfield, and we've seen glimpses, nothing consistent to where he's even close to being, that 2nd overall pick from a few seasons ago. So I think changes need to come for them, but also within the organization, the guys that they currently have on the team, they need to step up in a big way.
Nazem Kadri, 0 goals. Cale Makar, 2 points. Even a guy like Nathan McKinnon, until that final game of the series, I believe only had a couple of points. Number 1, I see at Gabriel Landeskog's numbers here, credit due to this player coming back and being able to be an impact player at this time of the year, regardless of the opponent here in the LA Kings. That's a fantasy angle that I'm keeping under my cap for next year. And the other thing is, Steele, how about the comparison for this LA Kings team headed into next season? You couldn't get it done against arguably the best team in the Western Conference. You know what you are or what you are not. But if you look at those numbers and you're saying, okay, that was the Colorado Avalanche without their big guns realistically doing anything, and we still couldn't get it done, not even get 1 win. Maybe you really do need to go back to the drawing board and, like you said, get creative in the offseason. I don't know how that looks. I don't know if they have the prospect pool or the pieces to get anything done, but it's going to have to be done one way or another. That might be the same case for the Edmonton Oilers, Mr. Rodin. Oh, baby. That was a close goal. We understand it. Over the line, under the line. I don't know what your take was on that goal. Over to you quickly for that. We'll hit to break. We'll come back, wrap it up with bets and a little bit more on the Oilers.
Yeah, we'll talk about the game a little bit more after the break, but just to start with the goal, I mean, I don't understand, like everyone else out there, how they called out a goal on the ice. Because the referee wasn't even close to being in a good position to see where the puck was when making that call. Actually, I don't believe he even made the call originally until they all huddled up near the penalty box and then ended up calling it a good goal on the ice. So that right there kind of just made it worse for wear for the Edmonton Oilers, because they had to find the evidence to try and overturn that. But if it's already a good goal and you don't have substantial evidence to do so, it ends up being a good goal. The Edmonton Oilers end up going down 3-1. And again, a big game, which we're going to talk about in big time bets later in the episode. We'll talk about, again, the Anaheim Ducks and some of the fantasy value with them and the Oilers when we come back after the break. But first, this episode is also brought to you by Warby Parker. Spring is here. Weddings, trips, rooftop hangs. Basically, a lot more photos are going to be taken. And if you wear glasses like Flip and I, you're wearing them at all of those moments. So if you don't love your frames, you feel it pretty quickly. That's where Warby Parker helps out. They've completely changed how easy it is to find glasses you actually like. Their virtual try-ons let you see how frames look on your face right from your phone. Just point your camera and you can try on a ton of styles in real time. And honestly, for the price, it's hard to beat. Prescription glasses, $95, so you're not sacrificing style or quality. They have everything in one place. Glasses, sunglasses, contacts, even eye exams. So it just simplifies everything for you. Warby Parker glasses start at $95 and include prescription lenses with anti-reflective, scratch-resistant coatings. They also have Many locations that offer comprehensive eye exams starting at $85. It's the perfect time to upgrade your glasses for spring. Buy one prescription pair and get 20% off in any additional prescription pairs at warbyparker.com/lockedonnhl. That's 20% off additional prescription pairs when you go to warbyparker.com/lockedonnhl. And once again, thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Continue to smash that subscribe button, the follow button, leave a 5-star review. Let us know who you have winning the Stanley Cup, how your bracket's looking so far in the comments below, or you can DM us on Instagram, Twitter, or wherever you like. Again, we love hearing from all of our listeners out there. Any questions you have, we'll get back to you as soon as possible. Flip, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm very surprised that Oilers are losing in this fashion. I believe they've given up they've given up like 17 or 18 goals in the 4 games. Sorry, more than that in the 4-game series. You have the numbers up?
I have the numbers up right here. The numbers allowed by, they have allowed, oh boy, Steele, you know me with the numbers.
The
10, 16, 20 goals through the first 4 games.
Yeah, I mean, it's just not good enough. And I was sending some messages, some friends of mine, just talking about how wasteful of a career it's been so far for Connor McDavid because of the goaltenders they have gone through over the last, 6-7 years. Mike Smith, Mikko Koskinen, Jack Campbell, Calvin Pickard, Stuart Skinner, Connor Ingram, Tristan Jarry. I mean, these are all of those goaltenders are not true number ones. They're barely even number twos at certain points of their careers. So they need to figure out, and they need to get quickly a number one goaltender that can stop a puck for them. I mean, they've had some unlucky bounces, but they also just have some poor goaltending. And I'm not going to blame it all on Connor Ingram and Tristan Jarry. The defensive capability in front of them has just not been good enough. This Anaheim Ducks team has been the best team when it comes to the man advantage. They are 50% on the power play, 6 for 12 so far in this series. And by the way, Jackson LaCombe now leading the postseason in points with 8 points in the 4 games right now. Cutter Gauthier's got an absolute wicked wrister, scored absolute beautiful goal on the power play in that game 4 victory as well. Beckett Seneca, they've got so much promising young talent in this group. Edmonton Oilers need to figure it out sooner rather than later because their season is now on the line.
Sooner rather than later means right now, immediately, because they might be golfing, and then there is going to be some seriously long discussions over what has got to be, Steele, completely unacceptable. This, in my opinion, is not one of those cases where, the Ducks are really beating them. The Ducks deserve credit, no doubt. They're a very young team. You mentioned it with Cutter Gauthier and Jackson LaCombe. I got it right here at the top of my list. It's hilarious because I was going to talk about his shot and release. That's a tease to bets as well. However, when you're talking about the same old song and dance with the Edmonton Oilers, you almost want to try and come up with another angle because, all of that with the goaltending is absolutely spot on clear. And then you take a look at the numbers just in that game 4, the 4-3 final, the puck, everything, all of that. Aside from shots on goal, all the major statistics, giveaways, blocks, takeaways, penalty minutes, they're all very close. So, it's like a couple of bounces here and there. So it's more so what the results are going to mean for this Edmonton Oilers team. Should they go out with a whimper here? All I got to say is I don't have it in me to write them off just yet because you have 97. You've got Leon. And if either one of those guys has a night, this is 3-2 headed back to Anaheim, and you're back in business. So you're spot on right with the big save. Dostal's numbers as well, not pretty. Over his 4 games in this series, an .877 save percentage. He's allowed 15 goals, by the way. The Edmonton Oilers, I double-checked that math. I believe it's 18 goals they've allowed in the series. Even still, it's ugly. That was the takeaway from me, though. Cutter Gauthier, he is a guy that this is the tip the hat early. Next year, I had him this year, Steele. I drafted him late. He's going to be much higher up that draft board this year.
Absolutely. I think he's got 50 goal potential written all over him. He's a goal scorer at heart, and you're seeing that right now in the postseason and what he did all year in the regular season. I got to give credit where credit's due because the Anaheim Ducks have been doing a fantastic job of shutting down Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. So while they're still getting their licks and they're still getting some really good opportunities, and their depth pieces on Edmonton are actually capitalizing on them, Jackson LaCombe, the Anaheim Ducks have done a fantastic job shutting down the two best players on the Edmonton Oilers right now. And again, I've said this year after year that you can't win championships without good defense. And we've seen that over the last couple of years from the Edmonton Oilers, and we're definitely seeing that right now in this first round series against Anaheim.
The Anaheim Ducks have the best power play in the postseason. They're clicking at 50%.
Yeah.
The Edmonton Oilers have to figure it out on the penalty kill. That's ridiculous. That's almost right there. And I know it's easy to do this when you're nitpicking things. If they have tightened that up, and you even take that number from 50 down to 25, and they score half of the goals they have on the power play, this series is looking very different. So, again, maybe an easy kind of obvious takeaway, but it's one that I look at, Steele, headed into tonight. The Edmonton Oilers on the brink. I've got a couple of bets from this game, but I'll turn it over to you for your picks for Tuesday night.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward for me, and it's kind of the same angle, same perspective of when I look at the Oilers and I look at the Bruins. I mean, it's embarrassing losses to lose like that, especially for the Oilers when they were up 2-0 and then up 3-2 and then losing in that fashion. Bruins got absolutely embarrassed at home at the TD Garden, 6-1 loss to the Sabres in Game 4. Both of these teams now are on the brink, and I don't think they're going to be going out like the way they played in Game 4 here. And again, with the season on the line, you're going to see the best players step up in a big way. So I don't think either of those teams are done right now. I'm going with the Bruins on the money line at plus 138. Again, I could be absolutely wrong. I could be absolutely wrong right now on the Bruins because the Sabres have been handing it to them all series long so far. I just don't think they go out that way. I think they have a lot more to give, and you expect a lot of pushback in Game 5 in Buffalo. So Bruins on the money line plus 138. Same thing for the Oilers. They're down 3-1. I don't think they're going out this way. You're going to see the best players step up and hopefully get some decent goaltending. That's all they need is decent goaltending. So Bruins on the money line plus 138. Okay. Oilers on the money line minus 172. And then I'm riding with my boys, the Minnesota Wild, going back to Dallas for Game 5, taking the Wild on the money line plus 108.
Yeah, of course you are. I would actually, in that Sabres-Bruins game, I'm going to stay away from it because I think it's going to be close. I would probably lean to the Sabres at home, but the one that I like in this one the most, Steele, Game 1, Jeremy Swayman has 34 saves. Game 2, 33 saves. Game 3, 27. And then in Game 4, he lets in 6 goals on 29 shots. He is going to be better. But you know what else is going to happen? A very fired up Buffalo team back at home looking to clinch their first postseason series in at least 15 seasons. So that barn at KeyBank Arena is going to be rocking just over the border here. And I'm telling you, they're going to throw the kitchen sink at Jeremy Swayman. Like you just said, in terms of that money line pick, I very much is going to come down to his ability to get saves. Here's the pick. 26.5. Take the over for Jeremy Swayman's save total. I really like that one. My second favorite prop pick of the night is from the Anaheim-Edmonton game. The last 3 tilts combined, Cutter Gauthier, up to a total of 13 shots on net. That's 4+ per game. That's the pick. 4+ shots on net for Cutter Gauthier. Yeah, I think you're going to see a big-time performance from the big guns on the Edmonton Oilers. But I don't have any confidence in their ability to slow down any of these Ducks young guns right now. Goaltending is a whole other thing, but just the blue line, I got concerns as well. So, Cutter Gauthier, 4+ shots on net, lock of the night. This one's easy, just like I did the other night with Sid. McDavid needs to blow the doors off. If he has another really poor game and Draisaitl doesn't pump in 1 or 2, this series might be over.
Bye, Edmonton.
Give me McDavid 2+ points, Gauthier 4+ shots, and then I really do like the Swayman over save total at 26.5.
I think the Swayman 26.5 save total is my favorite pick of all of them, but I do like the other ones as well because you need some big nights from those top guys here. Those are the picks. Those are the locks of the night. Thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Pod your first listen every single day. Once again, go check out the Everydayer Club here on Locked On Podcast Network. $5 a month or $50 a year. We appreciate all of that love and support. Again, hopefully your brackets are doing as good as Flip and I so far. Who knows what happens in some of these series, but we've been cooking. I will say my bracket's looking pretty solid right now. Let us know in the comments below how yours is doing. We'll see you back here again tomorrow.
Peace.